30, man to man, right?
It's high school football now. Presented by Fourth Down Magazine with Eric Epler and Andy Shay. Time for a look at Central PA football. Here are Eric Epler and Andy Shay.
All right, welcome to High School Football Now, presented by Fourth Down Magazine. I am your co-host, Eric Epler from Penn Live, and the guy right there is Andy Shay of Fourth Down Magazine. Welcome into a full hour of Central PA football. We got a lot to talk about. Mr. Shay, how are you?
It's good. It's good to see you, Epler. This is kind of weird. We're doing what we always have done for, I don't know, more than a decade.
Yeah.
We're used to being in the studio together. We're not used to people seeing us.
The good thing is I don't have a lot of dials and switches to deal with. I just have to look forward and speak, which is always a good thing. You used to be the guy with all the dials. You used to have to do all that stuff.
I'm fine. I was fine with that. I was just more comfortable when people couldn't see us, right? Like, we were hidden. Now the veneer is off. Like, not only do you get to hear what we think, you can see us and actually see the passion of what we think. And I don't know if I like that or not, but we're going to get used to it. We hope you like us on the app. We're glad you joined us. We're excited about still doing the show, obviously. It's a strange new world we're all living in. Everybody knows it. Hence, High School Football Now is now via Zoom, and we're brought to you in person. So not only we're going to talk about what we see, you get to hear us talk about what we see, and we do have a lot to talk about. It's just a strange world, E. That's the only way to put it.
Yeah, there have been so many developments this offseason, and we're going to get into that. Let's run down a little bit what we're going to do in this first episode. First takes, obviously in the first quarter. We'll tell you a little bit about what's happened so far. Traditionally, this will be our week that was. We will talk about the week and pick out a couple big games, maybe some surprise outcomes that we saw in that week leading up. Of course, quarter number 2 is going to kind of be a hodgepodge. We'll flip that on occasion. We'll do a little hot knot every now and then. And, of course, we'll detail some other subjects and some things that pop up throughout the week in Central PA football. Quarter number 3 is normally devoted to interviews. We like to bring in players, coaches, the guys who actually do it on the field. We will talk to those guys for this opening week. We're going to break down some of the Mid-Penn divisions because obviously they have not started to play football yet. Only the LL right now, and Berks County has started. They're only 1 week in. Mid-Penn is about to kick off on Friday night. So we'll detail those divisions and tell you who we think is going to come out victorious in the 5, not 4 anymore, 5 Mid-Penn divisions. And, of course, quarter number 4A is always our picks and predictions. We'll look at 10 of the top games out there. We'll dissect them a little bit and give you our picks, and we'll get it going.
Yeah, let's just start. So we're quarter number 1 this week for the first show of the year is First Takes. There has been so much happened since the PIAA championships in Hershey in early December of 2019. I want you to run down. It was already going to be a busy offseason anyway, right, E?
Yeah.
We had talked about that like over when we hooked up around Christmas time. We're like, there's going to be a lot of moving and shaking in this offseason. And we previewed it some last year talking about the Tri-Valley League ending and some coming to the Mid-Penn, some coming to the Schuylkill League. And there was already a good bit of off-season news that we could talk about before the crazy virus dropped a bomb on everybody's world. So in First Takes, let's talk about that a little bit. I want to get some of your perspective of some of the things that have gone on. You know, essentially the district is going to be, if in the very near future, a 3 conference landscape and things like that. So hit on some of those and talk about some of those details here in our First Takes.
This, like you mentioned, this was a very busy offseason before the virus hit. If you recall, remember about 4 or 5 years ago, you started to hear about super conferences, but it was only really it was only really, dictated for the upper echelon 6A schools, the big schools.
Right.
Like you're, talking about maybe Central Dauphin, possibly, maybe a Wilson or teams like that. But it was basically your, teams that were on the cusp of national prominence, St. Joe's Prep, Cathedral Prep, to get in these kind of super conferences that cross state lines and all that. It just seems too big. But
it was the right idea because of the expansion to 6
yes,
classes.
Exactly. But now, District 3 has really sort of morphed into these sort of super conferences. Before we had 5, like you mentioned earlier. In the past, the next 2 years, we're basically going to be down to 3. The Mid-Penn had already acknowledged this expansion with the Tri-Valley League folding. 3 teams obviously went up to the Schuylkill League to kind of bolster that league. And the Mid-Penn absorbed 6 teams, plus James Buchanan came back and after a 3-year sabbatical. And now we've formed a 5th division within the Mid-Penn Conference, 37 teams. It just so happens that the LL, after many years of speculation that Berks County would join, they approved them associate members for 2022. So that will also be a 37 team conference or league in 2022. So now you got YAI with just 23 teams down there now. So you're going to have 2 37-team teams and conferences, and now 23 with York. So essentially every District 3 right there is involved in 3 conferences. I like that. I think that's a good thing to have. I think it just strengthens the whole area, puts everybody in the same bubble. They get sort of the same coverage, from media and things like that. So I like that this expansion was happening. On top of that, you had a bunch of different traditional powers in the district, basically now being run by new faces. Not new to some aren't new to the program, but they're new as head coaches. You've had Cumberland Valley, Josh Oswalt, who's a 04 grad, believe it was 04, is now back to coach his alma mater. Lancaster Catholic had another change with Chris Marino back, the assistant coach. Took over for Todd Mealy, who left there for a couple seasons. So they've had 3 coaches now in 3 seasons. And you've had some other places, too, where there's been some turnover at places where really there wasn't much turnover in a long time. Cocalco, Dave Gingrich stepped down after 16 seasons. So you've had those sort of developments as well. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the winter season, when COVID started running around, and of course it took out all of the fall or all of spring. And it's just bled into this. The summer has been, back and forth information between the government, PIAA, some school boards have had to make very, very tough decisions on whether to continue or not. Health and safety protocols, I think I've written that sentence or those words about 1 million times over the summer. And then it leads us into now. We finally got a little football in on Friday night. With the LL starting, so at Berks as well. So that was a good thing. But we've come a long way. It's been a hard grind to get to this point, and hopefully it's smoother sailing from this point on.
So there's still a lot of unknowns, right? Because the virus is still in control, basically. And everyone's they're sort of flying and building and redoing everything at the same time while the virus kind of circles around. It is the great unknown. But there was so much over the summer between, leadership in the state and the government and the governor's office and the PIAA and executive director Bob Lombardi and fall sports and football and yada, yada, yada. It was back and forth. I don't want to necessarily talk about that in detail, but I'm just dying to get in an open forum like this. I want to get your opinion as a dean, because I call you a dean of high school football in Pennsylvania. I want to get your opinion on high school football actually playing and taking place in 2020 and just your thoughts, because I think they're very relevant as we kick off the 2020 season.
Yeah, everybody has an opinion on what should have happened or what should be happening at this point.
Right.
There's no question. I was at a game Friday night. I was at the Warwick Penn Manor game at Millersville U. I think there were 19 or 20 people in the stands.
Right.
And it's different. It's going to be different for a long time. But I do believe that it's a very positive thing that these athletes are back on the field. Yes, it's different. The like I said, the parts surrounding the game is different. But to get these kids back on the field, whether it's field hockey, whether it's, girls volleyball, tennis, golf, football, whatever it is, I think is a very positive thing for their mental well-being. I mean, I know when you and I played back in the Stone Ages, Monday morning, it was all about, okay, well, Friday night, what are we going to do? We're going to, this is who we're playing. I mean, I don't know. You might've been in Germany or somewhere. I don't know where you were during your high school days.
It was the United Kingdom.
Okay. You were in the UK. All right.
Kids, geography lesson, kids, figure out where I was. United Kingdom.
Yes, exactly. But I mean, it just was so much about being around your teammates and competing with your teammates and the practices and the silly moments you guys had in the locker room and, or film room. If your buddy got blew up on a play in a scrimmage, you would rag him for 3-4 days. All that stuff was lost because these kids could not be together during the summer. Yes, they were doing voluntary workouts from I believe it was June 10th is when they got the green light to go for voluntary workouts. But that whole time, from basically March 10th until probably the end of June, no one saw anyone except on a Zoom call. And it was troubling for these guys to not be around their teammates. They weren't in school. They were learning virtually. Everything was just basically on their own. So to get them back together, first and foremost, is huge. Is huge. Yes, there is the risk. Yes, absolutely. It was a hard decision for these superintendents and school boards that opted out. Very difficult
is a calculated risk, right? Everything you do today it comes down to personal choice and a calculated risk.
Yeah. But I do applaud the PIAA for making the go of it, trying to get this all set where the athletes get a chance to compete again. Again, it's not going to be a 10-week, regular season. It's not going to look the same, but just to see these guys out, and some of the kids that I've talked to over the last 4 or 5 months, they've all said the same thing. Man, we just want to play. We just want to get out and play again. So I think it's very important. And I think it's important to note too, that everything that these schools and these coaches and these athletic directors have been asked to do, they've done. And the data drives it to saying what they're doing is being successful. It didn't go away. And not everything's, you can't just go out there and be silly and not follow protocols now, but they've done the work. And when there has been a positive test, the protocols were in place. They took the necessary steps. They shut down workouts. They quarantined the athletes. They did what they needed to do to get to this point. And now they should be rewarded. Now, if the numbers were different, okay, then you have that discussion. But I think what they've done has been, should be celebrated, because I've been to a couple practices. I've been to a couple workouts. I've been to a 7-on-7 to see what these guys have to do. I don't know how they got to this point, to be honest with you. I really don't. So I applaud those efforts. And I really applaud the PIAA for really taking charge of this. I know a lot of my colleagues, and I don't understand this, have said to me multiple times, why don't they just make a decision? Why don't they just make well, what part of we're going is not a decision?
Right.
That's their decision. We're going.
They were looking for a reason to be told no.
Right. We're putting it in place and we're going. That is a decision. You either go or you don't go, right?
Yep.
So the fact that we got here is tremendous. But again, everyone has to be smart. Coaches have been preaching it all through the summer. You can't let your guard down, and you have to keep following those rules. And I saw a perfect example of it Friday night. Guys, equipment was around, socially distanced. They were taking precautions. Everybody had masks on, things like that. So I think as long as everyone does that, football will continue. And that's a good thing for these kids. It's a good thing for these kids.
All right. that'll do it. I just wanted to get your opinion, and I knew you had a lot to say. Coming up in the next quarter, that's quarter number 2, we'll talk about a few games that kicked off the staggered start around District 3 to the 2020 season. This is High School Football Magazine's High School Football Now with Eric and Andy. Stick around.
Let's get back to High School Football Now, presented by Fourth Down Magazine.
All right, welcome back. High School Football Now with Eric and Andy. We are presented by Fourth Down Magazine. He's Eric. I'm Andy. That's the only way to do it now, right?
That's it.
We used to be able to do it by voice. I'd be like, you could recognize us by our voices. Now you get to see us by our faces. We're in the second quarter of our first show of 2020. Everything is different on High School Football Now, including the way we're presenting it to you. But the information you get from us, it's still high dollar value stuff, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you for joining us. We are going to peek at the week that was. There were some very interesting games in week 1. The Mid-Penn Conference did not play. The Lancaster-Lebanon League kicked off. York kicked off. Berks kicked off. So other than the Mid-Penn Conference, everyone else in District 3 started. Am I correct, E?
I believe you're correct. Yes.
Yeah. So I remember I did get updates from, York County football. So I ignored them.
I got a few. Yeah.
I got some updates. I ignored them inherently because, sorry, but that's what I do. Win something and we'll talk.
It's tough. It's so much comes in from like 8 o'clock to 9:30. It's like rapid fire. I mean, sometimes you can't even follow Twitter. It's too many updates. And,
I had to not being at a game or, trying to watch a game or however I'm going to end up doing it, being COVID conscious. I forgot about the alerts and then they just started pouring in. Guess where I was? I was on the golf course.
Yeah, imagine that.
I was on the golf course Friday night, sneaking in a late night round.
Chasing the daylight,
right? Played the 18th hole in the dark, hit it, and had no idea where it went, but it was awesome. It's one of my favorite things to do. But at one point I looked at my phone on like the 16th hole, and it was after 7 and the sun was starting to set, and I was like, why is my phone blowing up? And then I was like, oh, I forgot to turn off the alert. So let's talk a little bit about the week that was. Let's just go to the jaw dropper. We're going to cut right to the chase. There was plenty of football where the wins and losses counted. And let's just start with this score. I mean, Governor Mifflin 48, Wilson Bulldogs. Gursky Stadium, that Wilson area. Wilson Bulldogs 7.
7.
7.
Yeah, this is easily
jaw dropper.
Easily the most shocking opening week game. I don't know, maybe in the state. I mean, this one. Listen. I had Governor Mifflin number 8 in Class 5A preseason, so pat myself on the back. But maybe it should be a little higher. I don't know, but just a tremendous effort. You roll off 41 unanswered points on Wilson. I mean, when does that happen? Ever? I mean, who can score 41 points against Wilson on any typical year? That doesn't really happen very often either. So obviously Nick Singleton had a great game here, 4 touchdowns. I think he ran for $160 in this football game. And maybe more impressive too. Now I know Wilson's breaking in a bunch of new starters, but you hold Wilson to 139 yards. It's not just all about Mr. Singleton. So this was pretty impressive, top to bottom for Governor Mifflin. I know Caleb Brown, the sensational quarterback for Wilson, got injured in this one. I believe it was early in the second quarter, and in a 7-7 ball game. But that doesn't change 48-7.
That's not 41 point
Right.
difference.
So obviously there's a lot of work to do there for Wilson. Great all-around game by Mifflin, and I'm thrilled that this is actually a trophy game because Andy, you and I love trophy games.
I love them. Absolutely love them.
And we lost a bunch of them because of the abbreviated schedule, so we don't get the Iron Spike Bowl anymore between Lower Dolphin and Middletown. I don't even think we get the jug game, right? The milk. What is it? What's the Shippensburg Big Spring? What is that? Big can jug? What is that?
Little brown jug.
Little brown jug. Yeah.
Oh.
We don't get that one, I don't think, this year. I mean, we lost a couple more too. So anytime you get a good trophy game in there, it's always a good thing. Congratulations to Mifflin. Great start. I think they host CD East this week. So we're looking forward to that one too. So yeah, great start for them.
So here's my thoughts. I couldn't remember, and I've been around too long. I just don't remember somebody woodshedding and a 41 unanswered against Wilson, right? Like, it's not the fact that somebody did it. It's the fact that Wilson didn't sort of punch back. That's what stuns me, right? That we've seen some of those state playoff games when they've been absolutely outmatched and you knew they were going to lose, right? When they had to go to the Ravens Den in Altoona and play a Whitfield champion, and you knew they were going to lose, right? And they lost, but they always punch back. To me, it's part of this is, first of all, you lost your quarterback, and in many respects, the first couple of weeks are going to be like a glorified scrimmage in so many ways, right? It's who has the season parts and has worked on this before. And hello, Mifflin does have the guy's pretty good at running the football. So that's a known commodity, and that's always going to make a difference in the world of COVID. But I will say this, nobody in the last decade has consistently improved more in District 3. And I'm talking season after season inside a regular season window than Wilson. And it didn't matter whether they had oodles of talent or just enough talent or a little bit of talent.
Good point.
That was irrelevant to me. The fact is they always get better over the course of a regular season, irregardless of the talent level they have. But still, to get beat by 41 is absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
Absolutely stunning. So, new look Manheim Central. Let's keep moving on. New look Manheim Central, right?
Yes. Well,
how many full-time guys are they replacing?
I don't know, 20?
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Right?
It's a lot, yeah. And I think most believe that Cedar Crest had at least a puncher's chance in this one.
Right.
They had a veteran QB and Chris Dance. They had some nice guys up front coming back, and next thing you know, here comes Manheim Central.
41-6
with 20 new starters apparently. 41-6. I mean, we talk about Manheim Central a lot about being one of the benchmark programs in District 3.
Right.
You know about all the banners and championships and section titles. But yeah, in week one with not much preparation, or at least, obviously abbreviated preparation for this season. And then here you go with a 41-6 win to start out things. So Judd Novak looked really good in this, quarterback taking over for, who, and did a really nice job here. 188 passing yards. Manheim rushed for 187, so balanced attack. You can't get better than that. So great start. What else is new, I guess? So
to me, this was the most irrelevant score from the LL kickoff weekend. And here's why. Replacing 20 full-time starters, or 20 or 19, it doesn't matter. At Manheim Central, it's different than almost everywhere else. It just is, right?
Yeah, it is different.
I'm going to give Cedar Crest some time. Dans and Richards need some seed time to become the guys for the Falcons, right? That's just my opinion. They know it, and they know that that's the way it has to be for them. They just have to figure out how to do it, and that's the wrong squad to figure it out against. Whether or not they're replacing 20 starters or replacing 2, somehow it doesn't seem to matter. So that's why I'm like, oh, well, yeah, that's not a surprise. Well, Cedar Crest was supposed to be better. They're playing Manheim Central. It doesn't matter whether they have 22 starters back or 2. It does not matter. It was always going to look like this. I'm going to give them a little rope.
All right.
Let's go to your game where you hello Friday night and first cold weekend. Yeah, hello, and COVID.
Cold and windy. There was nobody, nothing around you at Chris Field and at Millersville University to kind of keep you warm. Just it was a bit frosty. I won't tell you. The older I get, the colder I get too. So
another kind of a blowout, but.
Yeah, I mean, I give Penn Men a lot of credit. I mean, they came to play. They weren't, the big bad work. I mean, obviously as a top 5 team in the state, I have 3 in the class. Lots of eye candy on that team. Right. Nolan Rucci, of course, which you can't miss. He's 7'9".
Wisconsin recruit,
he's just a beast. Yep, Wisconsin pledge. Caleb Schmitz is really good. The Cincinnati pledge. dual threat guy. And obviously when you got runners like Colton Miller, Christian Royer, there's just a lot. There was a lot for Penn Manor to deal with, and put it to you that way. And
Right.
I think just the lean of that, and again, they made running the football very difficult. I mean, Royer and Miller combined for right around maybe 140 yards, something like that. But they were hard. It was hard yards for those guys. You know what I mean? They made it difficult. But eventually, it's kind of stacking up against that kind of weight wears on you. And that's kind of what happened. Warwick took charge there late in the second quarter to go into the half, 29-13 up. They got the ball in the second half to start. And you knew this was just going to get worse score-wise for them. But yeah, and Warwick didn't play their best. Obviously, it's week 1. So this could have been worse, I think, if these guys would have matched up maybe in week 3 or 4. But a win it's a good win for Bob Locker and crew. I think he's one away now from 100 career wins. So that could come on Friday. I'm sorry, Saturday. They play Saturday at Conestoga Valley. So, and the other big news was, sophomore quarterback Jack Reed. He got the start because Joey McCracken, the veteran's not quite ready yet, coming off a knee injury during basketball season. So Reed did a very good job, stepped in and, kind of let those guys up front take care of protection. And they moved him around a lot, put him in a lot of different situations to see what he'd do. And he did a nice job, very nice job. So,
all right, coming up in quarter 3, we're going to dive into our main stomping grounds and chat about the Mid-Penn Conference. This is Fourth Down Magazine's High School Football Now with Eric and Andy. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Let's get back to High School Football Now, presented by Fourth Down Magazine.
All right, welcome back to High School Football Now with Eric and Andy. We are presented by Fourth Down Magazine, and it is quarter number 3. We've talked a little bit about some first week in LL football games, a couple surprises, a couple not really surprises. And now we hit quarter number 3. We're going to do a couple division breakdowns here with the Mid-Penn Conference. They open up high school season here on Friday night, September 25th. All right, A, before we get into this,
right?
How did we get here? Because we've gone. You and I are old enough to know that we've gone through several stages of Mid-Penn Conference football, where we've had multiple division expansions and retraction.
Right.
So right now we're in 5.
So as I remember it starting in 1992, that's where I'm going to stop. It was Mid-Penn 1, Mid-Penn 2, Mid-Penn 3, right? And then there was an expansion, I want to say around 95. Don't check me on the dates. If you want to, that's fine. My Twitter's at Epler Shay. I take all information with a grain of salt, but anything that educates me is good. I think it was the mid-90s. They went to 4, right? There was a Mid-Penn 4. And everyone was like, oh, it's been Mid-Penn 1, 2, and 3 then. And then I would say sometime in the early 2000s, they scrapped the 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? And that really caused an upstage. And they went to this Commonwealth, Keystone, Capital, Colonial, and then there was 4. Then they brought the Liberty, and it was 5 as the conference moved.
Right.
And they're trying to figure out. And at one point, it was 6 for 2 years.
Yes.
And I think it was the Patriot.
I believe it was. I think it was the Patriot too, but I'm not totally. I'm not 100% sure.
It was like, so you had all of them in divisions. Then you lost the Patriot, and they realigned again. Then there was the Liberty. Then the Liberty went away for a while, and now the Liberty is back. Right.
Yes.
So, and I don't have a problem with any of the names. I kind of like them. Right. I'm not stubborn enough to say, oh, but I liked it better when it was Mid-Penn 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Yeah, whatever. Your names aren't bad. You did a good job. And so now there's 5 divisions. So we're going to talk about 5 divisions. So we're going to talk about, who we like as the heavy hitters or who we think's a player, right? So let's start in the Commonwealth division. I'll let you go first, E. I think there's an alpha dog in there and a program has alpha dog qualities, but is not playing this fall.
There's definitely an alpha dog now, particularly that 2 teams, and Harrisburg, obviously, the school decided to opt out,
right?
Which is unfortunate. And on the flip side, too, you still have sort of a question mark with State College.
Absolutely.
State College now has, they've okayed the move to continue competitions, but not for contact sports until everyone's back to in-person learning.
Right.
When that's going to be, I don't know. It could be, I don't know if they have a target date.
That's a school decision. We don't argue with them.
Exactly.
You run your own schools.
I mean, State College was supposed to open up this week by hosting CD East. Instead, CD East said, boom, now they're going to Governor Mifflin to play. So State College being a mystery, at No Harrisburg, you have to point every finger towards Central Dauphin. You were probably going to point there anyway, simply because of what they were able to do last year and the amount of talent that's coming back. It's not all the talent that got them to the championship game against St. Joe's Prep last year, but some of it's back, and it's pretty good. And again, we talked about Man Up Central being a benchmark program, D3. That also pertains to Central Dauphin. So I think Central Dauphin is clearly the team to beat in the Commonwealth. 1,300-yard rusher Timmy Smith back, Max Mosey back at quarterback, and a couple other really nice moving parts. And, of course, Glenn McNamee, we know, runs a solid program, has an idea. Well, doesn't just have an idea, has kind of a blueprint on how to be successful. So they've been really, really strong over the last decade.
So I think the absence of Harrisburg doesn't water down the division. To me, it leaves a huge gaping hole.
Yeah.
Competition. I mean, you throw in State College and its roster of 112 being a mystery as to whether or not they're going to be able to go. Mm-hmm. And whatever your school decides, that's up to your school. They have to do their due diligence. I don't pass any judgment on that, but that's a mystery. But if they do come back and play at any point, there's a certain level of competition you can expect from them. Yeah. Cumberland Valley under Oswald is going to look at different in so many ways, right? And dare I say, watching the Eagles might be a little bit fun. I say that with trepidation and a maybe, but we know Josh and we know how he wants to coach and run a program, and it could be fun to watch. CD's the alpha dog. They were always going to be the alpha dog. To me, the competition for them just seems a little light, and that's not their fault.
Yeah, it really isn't. I mean, it's just a case where this is, a weird year. Yeah. I mean, normally you would be competing. I mean, obviously the CD State College game is big every year since State College came aboard. Yep. And, you really haven't gotten much out of Altoona since they came back into the mid-pen football-wise. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. And so it's been about Harrisburg. It's been about State College and CD. Yep. So can Cumberland, like you said, can Cumberland Valley kind of make it? I just don't think they're at that level yet. Maybe in a few years they get back to that level, but right now they're not there. So, yeah, it's got to be Central Dauphin moving forward.
Most changes came in the Keystone Division, so we'll keep this short and sweet. Rest in peace, may you, the Keystone Division that we knew and loved from 2015, 2016, and 2017, where you were Alabama Hammer Slammer. That division was a gauntlet for 3 straight years. Yep. That is no longer. Bishop McDevitt's still there, so yeah. Yeah,
I mean, you're only really it doesn't look like anything like the Keystone.
Nope.
Particularly, I mean, Milton Hershey again was supposed to come in. That would have made a little fun, I think. Would have added, but Milton Hershey was another team in District 3 that opted out.
Yep.
So they will not be involved. So yeah, I think McDevitt is your team to beat.
Yeah, there's no question. Cedar Cliff's a very, very distant second with what they're looking to replace.
Yeah, Cedar Cliff's interesting because to me personally, because of their line of scrimmage. I think they're going to be pretty stout up front.
I agree.
I'm just going to wonder if they don't have that 1 or 2 extra skill guy. Yep. Gaining Means is certainly proven to be a tough quarterback. But I wonder, losing an all-time leading rusher obviously hurts any program. But I think Cedar Cliff just seems like maybe they're missing 1 or 2 guys from getting to that point where they could maybe win a division title.
So let's talk about the Mid-Penn Colonial Division. Sort of always a little bit of the redheaded stepchild of the conference. Sort of always the one that you would have if you stacked them up on top of each other, you would have put them 4th out of 4 most years, depth-wise, talent-wise, good team-wise. They've had an infusion in the new alignment that is going to make the path to the Colonial Division Championship for, say, the King of the Hill, which has been Shippensburg, it's going to be a little bit different.
It is going to be different because Susquehanna Township, part of that traditional Keystone Division that we were talking about,
yep,
and Mechanicsburg, which has sort of turned the corner and is back on the uptick. They are both now in the Colonial Division, so it's not cut and dry for Shippensburg. I probably would pick Shippensburg, but I am a lot more intrigued for the Colonial Division. I'll tell you that right now, because of the Indians and because the Wildcats are now in there. So I think it's a little open. I think, before the merge, before the changes, the realignment, I think you'd have to pick Shippensburg again, but it's they're certainly not going to be very welcoming to those two teams we talked about. So Hannah's always a mystery, Susquehanna Township, if they ever put it together, they're as dangerous as anyone.
So here's what I think. You used to always it was always pretty easy to stack up the Colonial, right?
Yeah.
Now it's not, right? Shippensburg has more pieces, right? We know that. But Mechanicsburg and Hannah now being mates in that division, it's certainly more intriguing. I still think Shippensburg is the top dog, but that road to how they win football games, Mechanicsburg and Hannah are going to upend that, right? How Shippensburg goes about its business to win in that division is going to be turned on its head a little bit by those two squads. Added speed in the Colonial coming from Hannah and coming from Mechanicsburg, because if nothing else, Mechanicsburg usually brings speed to the table, and Hannah has it to burn, right?
Yeah, they're no longer going to be able to just line up and gash and
right.
take out the teams that struggle along
right.
the scrimmage. I mean, that's been really the kicker for the Colonial, is the
right.
bottom teams just don't have the bodies up front. And, they may have a couple skill guys that could do some good things, but over the course of 48 minutes, not having those guys up front really gives you no chance to compete against a Shippensburg,
right?
Who can kind of grind you down third quarter, fourth quarter, and
you're down. They would bully their way to victories.
And that's the thing. And now Northern has been traditionally, when they flipped in, Northern has been tough on occasion too, but that's sort of been the knock on the Colonial. You have one or two good teams and then 4 bad teams.
It's just different now.
No. Now you got 2 more teams in there with some speed and some size and some experience against some upper level 4As and 5As. And yes, it gets a lot more interesting.
Has the capital changed much, really?
No. I mean, no. Middletown's had a hold on that now for 4 years. Steel High's been a numbers game. Steel High, we know, is a dangerous program, but 1 or 2 injuries and things start to fall apart there because they don't have a lot of kids on the roster. They just don't have the depth.
They don't have.
This could be different this year. I mean, we're hearing a lot of great things about Alex Irby, freshman quarterback coming in. He's 6'2", wings it around. He's got some guys to wing it too. Mekhi Flowers, of course, who's one of the top recruits in the country. Tyrone Moore has been a guy that's probably been overshadowed, but he's 6'2" and dangerous and can run. So, Steel High this year maybe could be the team to kind of supplant Middletown. Middletown didn't have a very good scrimmage on Saturday. Tony Powell got banged up, their starting quarterback. That's not a good thing.
They scrimmaged Central Dauphin. Duh.
I know they scrimmaged Central Dauphin.
Duh.
So that's the thing. I mean, obviously that's a tough assignment for them in a scrimmage. But you do want to come out of a scrimmage healthy, and they certainly did not.
They did not.
There's some work to be done there, and Coach Myers knows it.
At the end of the day, it's still Middletown and Steel High, right?
Yes.
And everybody else is looking up at them. All right, here we go. The Liberty Division, brand new for 2020. Off you go, E. Give it to me. We got a couple minutes left.
This is my dartboard throwing hand.
All right.
Yeah, who knows what's coming out of this, man? Seriously.
I have no idea.
Like I would, you'd flip a coin maybe between Upper Dolphin and Juniata, but then but then I look and the more I look at like James Buchanan, I'm like, oh, are they back? Can they do this? I don't know. I'd say maybe you go with Upper Dolphin. I like Juniata's playmakers though. They could surprise. I'm curious to see what they do. Juniata plays Middletown on Friday night, so I'm really curious on what comes out of that football game. To see. Jacob Kondo's been a playmaker for them for 2 years. He's a tough nut. So we'll see. But right now, I think maybe you go Upper Dolphin just because of the experience factor. What they did last year and having some kids back from that.
I'm going to call this the TVL South Division. That's just what it's the Liberty, but I'm going to dub it the TVL South.
I'm not sure you're allowed to do that legally. I'm not sure.
Give me Susquehanna since we're throwing darts. Why not, right?
All right. Yeah. Not a problem.
Give me Susquehanna. All right, that'll do it. We took a peek around the Mid-Penn Conference. We'll see how wrong we are after week 1 next week. Coming up in quarter 4, we go hunting for the Shepler Cup and the supremacy of who is the better at picking between you and I, Shepler, Shay, Epler, Shepler Cup. We're going to have previews and predictions. This is Fourth Down Magazine's High School Football Now with Eric and Andy. Please come back and join us. You're not going to want to miss our picks.
Let's get back to High School Football Now, presented by Fourth Down Magazine.
Okay, welcome back to High School Football Now with Eric and Andy. We are presented by Fourth Down Magazine, and it is time for our Week 1 picks and predictions. I know 3 of the 4 conferences in District 3 have started, but these are our picks and predictions and the chase for the Shepler Cup. So we're going to call it Week 1. We're going to go all the way till as far as we can go. We're both 0-0 right now. So we're going to basically pick 10 games each week. Fingers crossed that we still have 10 games, right, partner? That there's 10 games each week to pick. We don't know what's going on in the world of COVID. Who knows, right? So let's do that. So who's the defending Shepler Cup champion?
I don't know. It was so long ago I can't remember.
No, you can't pull a COVID on me. No. You know who the winner chicken dinner is. It's me. It's only by one. It's only by one.
Where's the trophy?
The trophy's right behind me.
Oh, look at that gorgeous thing. Way up there.
Yeah.
High on the mantle.
So technically we tied, but since I had won the year before.
Right. It's like the Ryder Cup.
It's like the Ryder Cup. You have to beat me to win it.
Yes. And you half a point more.
So that's what you have to do. So let's go there. So these are our 10 games this week. Let's fire it up. Let's not waste any time. Let's start with what is a humdinger. It's the Wilson Bulldogs, fresh off giving up 41 unanswered points to Governor Mifflin at Manheim Township. Both teams are 0-1.
Every team in Section 1 is 0-1. Can you believe that? Every Section 1 team lost in the week 1. Wow. We have to say this time. We're obligated to say this every year at the end of week 1 is what, eh? What do we always say?
What do we make the biggest jump from week 1 to week 2?
That's right.
The most. You learn twice as much in week 2 as you do in week 1.
That's right. This is the only time we get to say it. So now we've said it. Wilson is hoping that holds true because this is obviously a redo for them, a restart to the season because week 1 they're gonna want to quickly forget after losing to their rivals by a big number. I don't think the week 1 losses take any steam out of this one because you're starting up section and obviously Manheim Township played a whale of a game against LaSalle College. They were down 28-6 in that football game. They showed a lot of grit, came back at least, and made it a decent 35-27 game final. So that says a lot for a lot of new starters that Mark Evans was breaking in. I mean, last week before anything happened, I would have probably put Wilson as a slight favorite in this one. I think right now you probably got to make Manheim Township a slight favorite. So I'm going to stick to Manheim Township, even though I picked Wilson by a smidge to win Section 1. My head's a little spinning a little bit about week 1 results. So I will take Manheim Township.
Yeah, a couple of 0-1 squads here. There's nothing much for me to see next. No, I'm just joking. Seriously, Township had the tougher matchup, right? You just said it. I agree with you. It just took them too long to warm to the task, but they did warm to the task, right?
They did.
They won the second half. Wilson has a lot more questions to answer, and it's kind of hard to find those answers against Manheim Township. Therefore, I'm going to take the Blue Streaks. All right, Lampeter Strasburg at Lebanon. You are entertained by this Section 3 game, are you not?
I am, because LS was obviously the team I picked to win Section 3, and Lebanon was the sleeper in Section 3. This is going to be a tremendous quarterback matchup. Sean McTaggart for Lampeter Strasburg, Isaiah Rodriguez for Lebanon. Both had really strong outings in week 1 in the LL games.
Right.
I like a lot about LS. Obviously, I have those ranked. They're preseason ranked in my state rankings. And Lebanon's one of these teams that you want to watch out because they are very exciting. Got a lot of high-powered guys, and they score a lot of points. So this one, I don't know, first one to 40 maybe gets this one. But I like LS. I think LS is the more sound program, and I think they've got a lot more veterans to kind of lean on. So I will take LS.
Nothing like a good quarterback battle early in the year, right?
Yes.
So I'm putting the over-under for total pass attempts in this game north of 70.
It's possible. I mean, it is possible.
Right?
I mean, Lebanon's going to chuck it. I can tell you that much. So
yeah, they're going to chuck it. I'm saying north of 70 is the number. I think that's a good number for combined pass attempts. So get ready for a long game if you're able to go, or if you're watching it on stream. My heart says the Cedars, but my head says Pioneers. So
I know what you're feeling. Yeah.
So since we're picking and they count now, and I'm the defending Shepler Cup champion, I'm going with my head, and I'm going to pick Lampeter Strasburg. All right, Manheim Central at Cocalico. Ooh, boy. Go ahead, E.
This is a good one. This should be a good one. You try to kind of look for deficiencies. There wasn't much to knock for Manheim Central in that opener. And again, you tried to figure out, okay, who are the new guys that are going to maybe struggle in the first couple of minutes? They got work to do. Both teams have some work to do, and they'll make big leaps here in week 2. But man, I don't know. I think you go with Manheim Central, but Cocalico's got a really nice thing going on right now. They've been very competitive over the last couple of years and did a lot of good things last year. And of course, this is a little bit of a rematch, as we know. So I will take Manheim Central, but I'm right on the fence.
So you put this as a top 10 game in the state, E? Would you pick this as a top 10 game in the state?
Yeah, knowing that the Mid-Penn is not a great schedule this week, right. And I looked around the state a little bit. There are some good, decent matchups, but yeah, I would say yes. Yeah.
So I'm not looking for reasons to pick Manheim Central. They give me enough, apparently. Yeah. And when you reload and look like that, go ahead. You can be 2-0 in my book. I'm picking the Barons as well. All right, let's go to CD East. God love them. They're going to go to Governor Mifflin.
Yeah, I mean, after what Mifflin did last week against Wilson, you got to figure that it's going to be a pretty good day for them. CD East, this is their first matchup. Didn't really have much preparation. It's a tough assignment for them, thinking you're going to go to State College. Now you're going to Mifflin. So I like Mifflin here. I think CD East, you and I know, CD East is one of those teams that usually burns a favorite or a perceived favorite there. But I don't know if this is the place where they're going to get that there. So I will take Mifflin.
So I say well done to CD East for getting a game to fill your schedule because State College had to bump out, right? So you went ahead and filled your schedule. Good for you. And unfortunately, this is not a fair fight, really. The Panthers are just kicking into gear, and Mifflin's already got 4 very, very, very impressive quarters of work in the books. So to me, someone's just trying to get started. Someone's already well ahead and has 4 good quarters in. It doesn't feel like a fair fight. I still give them credit for taking the game. I'm going to pick Mifflin as well. All right, Mid-Penn Conference alert.
Yes.
Redland at Hershey. Finally, we get to one. It is not a good schedule this week.
Finally get one. Patriots dominated this game last year. They won 31-6, I believe it was. I think both teams are going to be better overall in 2020. It may take both. This might not be a particularly pretty game, being the first one, but I like the line of scrimmage for Redland. I think they're going to be okay in that department. They've got some guys back too, so I mean, to me, it's a little bit of a toss-up, only because it's week one. So I will take Redland in this game, but I'm not. This would be like a one-star play if I had to put a star on it.
So Hershey and an absence of playmakers, right? I don't disagree that they'll be fine. They'll be improved and even fine up front. But until the lack of playmakers, until that changes and the Trojans show some capacity to put points on the board, for me, Redland, it just feels like an easy pick call for Redland for me. It really does.
I mean, Hershey has, David Lloyd's back and made some really nice plays last year, was consistent wide receiver. Bosblow's back at quarterback for Hershey. But, yeah, I mean, both teams feel – I mean, to me, both teams feel like they're a couple players short on paper, but they match up pretty evenly. So it should at least be a pretty good football game in terms of matchups. So,
all right, Cumberland Valley's at Altoona.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to automatically chalk up the win for Josh Oswalt, but I'm going to automatically chalk up the win for Josh Oswalt just because I just haven't seen much out of Altoona for the past couple of years. I just don't think they're quite there to match up with a Commonwealth team like this. Josh Oswalt coming in, like you said, he's gonna change some things. They won't be running the wing T, I don't believe.
I don't think they will.
Probably the first time. I mean, Mike Whitehead got away from the wing T a little bit, but there were some tendencies there. But it should be exciting, at least for Cumberland Valley. I think it'll be a lot more exciting, and they'll be a lot more wide open under Oswalt. So that's something to look forward to. But I like CV here.
What you just said about Josh Oswalt getting his first win in his alma mater, I'm going to say that's probably long overdue, Epler. That is overdue, it feels like to me. This should have happened, 4 or 5 years ago. But I do have one question. Did Josh, did he work in a graphic artist as one of his paid assistants or something? I mean, have you seen their Twitter and their social media and the graphics that they're putting together? I'm like, did you hire a graphic artist or something?
Listen, I refuse to look at it. I know they put out this would never, obviously, under Coach Rimful or Coach Whitehead, put out a Twitter thing for new uniforms.
Right.
Unveiling the new uniforms. Until they go chrome helmets, I'm not looking.
All right, we got 2 minutes. We got 2 or 3 minutes left. We got to burn. Lower Dolphin at Cedar Cliff.
Cedar Cliff, give them the edge. More wide open offense. Lower Dolphin's going to be better than last year, but last year was 0-10. So
right.
I like Cedar Cliff in this one. They have some playmakers.
Yeah, up front where the rubber meets the road in this game. I mean, okay, so if you think LD is going to be a little bit better in the second year in the return of District 3 winning coach Rob Clark, well, that means they're competitive, right? Because they were not competitive last year. So easy pick, Cedar Cliff. All right, Upper Dauphin, welcome to the Mid-Penn Conference at Steel High on Cottage Hill on a Saturday.
Saturday at noon, high noon at Cottage Hill, yeah. I like Steel High here. I just think that, being Alex Irby's first game, I think Coach Irby, the father and coach, is going to want to put that offense on display. And I saw Upper Dauphin in a 7-on-7. I just while they have some talent, I just don't think they have enough to kind of slow those two guys outside down. And that doesn't even factor in Odell Green, the running back. So he ran for 1,000 yards last year. So I like Steel High big.
I'm going with the Rollers as well. My question for you is, and I don't want you over/under for Rollers touchdown covering 60 or more yards each.
60?
60 or more yards, I have it at 3.5. Over or under?
Man, that's a lot of yards. I'll go under.
All right.
It may be 3 though.
West Perry at Mechanicsburg. That's why it's a good number.
Yeah, what Mechanicsburg here, we talked about them being on uptick. West Perry is breaking a lot of new talent, and they lost a lot of good guys who were 4-year starters up there.
Right.
So Mechanicsburg.
Yeah, something tells me this isn't going to be a pretty result for the Mustangs.
Yeah, I agree.
Mechanicsburg's cooking with some okra, shrimp, and grits. That's a little bit of South there for you, Coach Rose and his roots. I take Mechanicsburg easy. Last one, Chambersburg at Central Dauphin.
I mean, again, Central Dauphin has been itching. Huh?
Alpha dog.
Yeah, they're the alpha dog in the Commonwealth. Chambersburg hasn't had much preparation for this. Central Dauphin seems like they're a little bit ahead of the game already,
Right.
with their preparation, and they've got the skill guys. They've got the line. I like Central Dauphin in this one.
Yeah, they lost their scrimmage last week with Hershey to a positive COVID test. It's going to happen.
Yep.
And then so you do that, and then you're rebuilding, and you draw Central Dauphin on the road to start your rebuild. That's just cruel. That's all I'm going to say. I'll take the Rams as well.
Yeah. All right. All right, guys, that'll do it for the first installment of High School Football Now, presented by Fourth Down Magazine. Special thanks to our Small Player Big Play app. And we will join us every week as we break down Central PA High School football. That's it. It's over. We'll see you next week.
See ya!
Thanks for joining us.